You are watching H Nagar Trending Videos.
Living her entire life with no face. From a young age, it was obvious to her family that there was something very different about her. It all began with a small tumor on her face, which her father claimed started in the womb. By the time she turned 2 months old, they took her to the doctor to find a solution. However, over the many months of testing and trying for treatments, they said their only hope was to have surgery. But the operation could potentially kill her. Not wanting to take that risk, they allowed the tumor to stay. And over time, the small lump grew as heavy as 600 grams. The tumor began to engulf her face, covering her eyes and her nose. Truth be told, she doesn't even know whether she even has eyes anymore, as she's completely blind. The only feature Khadija has left is her mouth, which is now in the form of a slit on the left-hand side. She's never been able to make friends as people shun her or are just terrified of her appearance. Now, if we travel down to Texas, USA, there was also a man who had no face, except his condition was caused by a work accident. Dallas Wayne suffered from life-threatening burns in 2008 when his boom lift came in contact with nearby power lines. He lost his eyes, nose, teeth, and all the sensation in his face. He went 2.5 years without having any feeling in that area and said he could have lived like this no problem if he didn't have his daughter. But because she would grow up always questioning why her father looked like this, and the fact that he would never be able to feel her kisses, made him want to do something about it. Dallas became the first person in America to receive a full face transplant, a 17-hour-long surgery with a team of 30 doctors that helped construct him a new nose, lips, muscles, and nerves which allow him to feel some sort of sensation. The same can't be said about Latif Katana. Born in India, he suffers from neurofibromatosis. Tumors grow all over his body, but the ones on his face grew exponentially as he aged. They eventually covered his eyes and he completely lost vision in one, and has trouble seeing through the other. Probably the scariest time in his life was when he crossed paths with some soldiers. They drew their guns at him and were about to shoot, all because they thought Latif was a wild beast. So he had to shout and beg them not to take his life. However, he's now married to his partner Salima.
One man, 51-year-old Jose Mestre from Lisbon, Portugal, is a tragic exception to this rule, as he has become known as the man with no face. Mestre was born with ordinary facial features like the rest of us, but during puberty, a small strawberry-colored birthmark on his upper lip began growing at an extortionate rate. Over the past 35 years, this growth has consumed Mestre's face altogether, partially blinding him and making it hard to breathe. Doctors diagnosed the growth as an extreme hemangioma tumor, which results from a collection of blood vessels that have expanded, creating a raised red area. Surgeons offered Mestre various procedures to have the tumor removed, but due to his religious beliefs as a Jehovah's Witness, he was opposed to the idea of a blood transfusion. In 2010, however, a leading British surgeon offered to treat Jose using ultrasound waves that would reduce the risk of a major blood loss. After going under the knife, Mestre was freed of the growth, weighing 12 pounds and measuring 40 centimeters, and was reunited with his own features.
Now let's change locations and travel to an isolated village. There's a woman who's been living in the world with no face for 78 years. Amina was born without a nose or eyes, and she's completely reliant on her mouth to breathe. She can't hear that well, and as you can imagine, living a day-to-day life and doing something as simple as walking is extremely difficult for her. Anytime she tries to get around alone, she's constantly hitting walls and taking wrong turns. For that reason, Amina needs assistance getting around everywhere. Having this sort of disability prohibits her from getting a job, which means a lot of can afford a good meal. She survives on bananas and rice for the most part. But anytime she's able to get some money, she treats herself to soft food which is easier to eat. At the age of 30, Amina got to experience love for the first time. She got married to a man who seemingly appeared out of nowhere. The couple ended up having 2 kids, but unfortunately their relationship didn't last. Several months later, Amina came down with a horrible disease which crippled her legs for a little while, saying she literally went to hell and back. But her faith in God is what helped her pull through. The next person we're going to talk about is a 13-year-old boy who has one of the worst known cases of neurofibromatosis. Amari has a large tumor on his face that severely affects his breathing. He has no vision in his left eye, and the right one is very limited. His mother knew there was a 50% chance that Amari would be born with a genetic mutation. And as he was getting older, his differences were becoming more visible. So much so that one time when he went to the park, the other kids cruelly called him a monster. And after that, he didn't want to go back to that park again. For a while, Amari was taking chemotherapy medicine and things seemed to be getting a bit better. But he stopped doing that for a year to see the reaction of the tumor. And unfortunately, it began to grow back even faster. So he's gonna have to start his treatments again. And the family was obviously going through a tough time, which is why they had to set up a GoFundMe to help towards his doctor visits and other expenses.